Hello everybody, how's it going? It's me, Crendor, and welcome back to Crendor Talks in front of a shitty green screen. Today, I'm going to be kind of talking in front of the shitty green screen, but I'm also going to switch over to my Warhammer area over there to show you some stuff, because today, we're going to be talking about the tools you need to get started with miniature building and painting. So, a lot of people have been asking me, like, Crendor, what do I need to get started with, like, building and painting miniatures, right? Because let's say, you're like, oh man, I want to buy some miniatures, right? That's what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to buy some Lizardmen, some Seraphon, whatever. So you buy it, and then you're like, wait a second. I need to build these. Shit, dude. So, let's talk about what you're going to need. So the first thing is right behind me. It is the clippers. I've got some over there. I'm going to show you. I needed some background image, so I just chose this. Also, if you missed my previous video choosing an army in Warhammer, I'll put it up in the cards right there, so you can click on that and then come back to this if you want. If you'd rather see that first, then come to this video. I'm going to be making videos like this for a bunch of stuff. So, let's head on over to the other section here. Boop. And then I got to change my microphone and my Yeti. Hold on, let me do the old switcheroo. And and I have stepped on my Vive headset. It is not broken, hopefully. So, let's see. Here's what we got. So, first off, clippers, right? You got these clippers. These are very important. They are used for clipping out your various models. So, this is going to be probably the most important tool you're going to need when you start building your miniatures. So, for example, let me just get a sprue out here that I can show you. There's various types of clippers you can buy. These are like the more expensive Games Workshop ones. These are like, I don't know, 25 bucks or something. I have all the links to the things I'm going to talk about today in my description down below in the Amazon shop you can check out. So here's some clippers, or here's a sprue that we're going to clip out. So let's say, I don't know, I want to clip out this head right here. So you're going to have to clip the little thing, and to do that, you got to make sure the clipper's like, whoop, able to align, and then you, boop, and you clip it off. And then over here, it's another little part, we do that. Okay, that's my demonstration. So, we've done it. We've clipped out a head. But, as you can see, on his chin, there's a little mold line, or I guess you'd call it a mold line. It's pretty much where there wasn't a clean cut, which you're going to get very often, or there's just mold lines. So normally what I like to do is get under it, clip it a little bit more so it smooths it out a little bit, and then this is where you can take either an X-Acto knife. Be careful, I've cut myself with this before, being like, whoop. That was not fun. Or there's this other tool, which is from Citadel, which is like a mold line scraper, a lot safer, and you essentially just kind of whittle it down. However, I don't think I do this the correct way. I like sometimes do it correctly. Some people, they like go against the grain, or you go with the grain. I'm not the person to learn those details from. I'm gonna tell you right now. But I usually just do this until it feels smooth. And right now it feels pretty smooth. So now, when you look, there's still the area where it used to be, but it's a lot smoother. And when I prime over that later, you're not going to be able to tell. So the other thing is you can find all the mold lines and just kind of whittle those mold lines down like so, so it doesn't look like, you know, there's lines and stuff. You don't have to do it, but just helps to make it all look smooth. And kind of just, well, there it goes. And not make it look like, oh, there's where they glued it or built it together and stuff like that. Not gonna lie, I don't really do mold line scraping a lot. unless it's like really visible mold lines. Otherwise, I'm like, whatever. But some people do, so it's still a good tool to have. Sometimes, here's the thing. Sometimes if you don't want to get this, or like you don't have X-Acto knife, I'll just take the scrapey, the clippers, and I'll just kind of like do that and kind of scrape it down. That's like the lazy man's way. Honestly, it still works alright. So these three are kind of just, you know, interchangeable, but I'd say definitely these clippers or similar clippers. They don't have to be Citadel, just anything that has a ability to kind of get in there and do like a little fine point clip, right? Because there's a lot of little like bits and pieces. Like if you're clipping something like this and you gotta get in, you're like, doop, you know? So, or let me show you an example. Like, right, if I gotta get in between here, I'm gonna have to be like, and have to really just like make sure it fits in here. And if it doesn't fit, you're gonna have to cut this off, then cut this, then this, and it's the whole process. So, yeah. Now, what happens when you cut out everything, right? You'll be like, well, what do I do now? Great question. So then, you're going to need to glue. So, Citadel plastic glue is the one that I use. You can also use super glue. Some people use super glue. Plastic glue seems to be the best. It melts the plastic together. So it's not really a glue. It's more of like a melting thing. But it works. However, if you get resin models, which if you're playing Seraphon, oh boy, that's resin. Lord Kroak is resin. Astrolith Bear is resin. Half the army's essentially resin. You can't use plastic glue because they're not plastic, so you have to use super glue. So you're going to need some super glue if you're going to play anything with a resin model. Fine cast is what they call it. And what happens is you're going to get all the parts in this like fine cast sheet. I don't have any on me right now. I don't think I do. Or do I? No, I don't think I do. And it comes in like a similar sheet to the plastic one. And cutting it out's a little weird. It's kind of chalky and it's like, and there's a lot of little pieces that get left over. But once you get them all out, you're like, all right. And what you need to do is scrub them down. So you're going to need are you kidding me? I don't have my toothbrush. You're gonna need an old toothbrush, or just buy one for like $3 or $2 or whatever. And just some soapy water. And I usually put all my resin pieces in my little cup of soapy water. I stir them up. And then I slowly will take one out and scrub it down, and that gets all this like protective film off the actual fine cast resin and allows you to prime it very easily and paint. Because if you don't, the primer, I think this is how it works, the primer won't stick to it as well, and then the paint doesn't paint well. It's just, you gotta scrub them down. Some people have different ways. I saw one guy like shakes them in a soapy bag or something like that, whatever. But you gotta wash them, so that's another thing. But most things are plastic now. The other thing is you might not even need glue because you might have push to fit. So a lot of war bands in Underworld and wars like I think it's Warhammer Underworld. A lot of the new like Indomitus stuff that I've been building is all push to fit. The Age of Sigmar Souls box with the Stormcast and the Night Haunt, and a lot of the Night Haunt in general. Are push to fit, which is literally you got big pieces and you push them together and they fit, and that's how you build them. You don't have to. Here we go. Here's one of my Necron heads. You can see it's got like the little push, see the little thing, and you just push this in to the hole and bloop, it's in. If you're curious about that, you can watch any of my videos where I'm building the new Warhammer Necrons, because they're all push to fit, and you can see me building them in those videos that I uploaded like last week. So, you can also use glue if you want them to like really stick, but you don't have to. So yeah, those are the glues and scrub stuff you're gonna need. Then for actually painting. You're going to need a palette. As you can see here. This is one palette. I have many palettes that have been used. And you could have that, or you can have a wet palette, which is, you can look up a bunch of things or a bunch of ways to paint with a wet palette. I also have a wet palette here. I don't think there's anything in it. It is, but it's dried out. And essentially, you put water down here, the foam gets kind of damp, you have this parchment paper over the top, and it keeps the paints wet, so you don't have to continuously keep adding water and paint when it keeps drying out in your normal palette. However, I think it's easier to learn without a wet palette, because it helps you to learn about the consistency of the paints, if that makes sense. So, when you put paint in here, you have to pull a little bit, and then you get a little water, and then you mix it. Not a whole lot, you just dip your brush in the water, and then and you thin the paint a tiny bit, and it helps it not be as like clumpy and a little more consistent, but you don't want it to be watery. That's the big thing. You don't want like a watery paint. You want like a nice, kind of in the middle, where you like run your brush and it's kind of nice and smooth, and you're like, okay, this looks like it'll go well on the model, and you do 2 thin coats. So that's where everybody's like, well, thin your paints, thin your paints. You can even see on here, I have a lot of like testing my paint consistency, like making sure it's the consistency I want. And that's that. So that's just palettes. Then there's paint brushes. These are the paint brushes I use. These are the ones I like, at least. These are Lennox Arts. I don't think they sell them anymore, but I just bought a similar brand, so I'll put that in my Amazon shop. And it's got like the same little handle, same thing. And they just give you a bunch of different brushes. These are like 25 bucks on Amazon. I like them a lot. I've tried some cheaper brushes. I've tried some other brushes, like some of these, like with the, hold on, here we go. Some like this, where they're just this really thin handle. This is Crafts and Colors. I think I got these on Amazon too. I do not like these at all, but I keep them just because I might use them for something. I think I was using one for using like a medium and testing, using it as like a medium brush. But yeah, you know, so I really like, I'll recommend a similar brand to this in my my Amazon shop, because I like those the most. So those are the brushes I like. I'm still actually trying to find like good brushes, but for now these are still really good brushes. I like these a lot. For 25 bucks, they're pretty solid. And then let's see. Oh, you can get these Citadel holders, so you can put a model. Let's say you want to paint a guy, right? You can just do that, and so you can like do. And if it's a big model, it'll stretch like that. So it's kind of nice, and it makes it so you can hold it like this, you know, like this. You can kind of do this, or this, and it has edges, so you can do any way you want. Or sometimes you get lazy, and I literally just, you know, I'll hold it and be like that. So if you really want a handle or something, it is pretty useful, but I found myself just doing this most of the time. So I don't know if you really need it, but if you want it, it's still pretty nice to have. And I don't think it's too expensive. It's like 15 bucks. This water cup, the Citadel water cup, is honestly pretty solid. It's got like all these little ridge lines in it, so you can run your brush through these. It's got like a bunch of ridges on the inside and at the bottom. So actually, even though it's like, oh, the Citadel water cup, it's actually a pretty good purchase. I actually like this a lot. And it's even got the little ridge, so you can like rest your brush and stuff like that. It's a good water cup. It's a really legit water cup. And I've had other people tell me that as well. So, you know. I will say, like the Games Workshop tweezers, you probably don't need those. You can probably just buy like miniature tweezers or normal tweezers for like putting little grass on stuff, or I usually just use my hands, whatever. But if you need like more complex precision, you can use tweezers, and you know, any tweezers are gonna work. And then I also have some files, so if you're, you know, trying to smooth something out, you can file it down. They're just metal files. I mean, Games Workshop sells them, but really you can get them, you know, probably get them anywhere. I don't really use files that much. I have them. I only use them occasionally. Like if something really needs to be like filed down. I never really run into that issue. I'm not like a perfectionist though. Some people probably use a lot more than I do. But overall, I mean, that's about it. I mean, for basing stuff, there's also this texture tool for like scraping out texture paints and kind of layering on stuff. So that's pretty nice. It's a Citadel texture tool. Citadel's actually got pretty solid brushes. I will say that. They've got some pretty decent brushes. Although they're a little pricey, but they are pretty solid. So I will give them that. And their texture tool's nice. And then you can also just use like any glue for gluing these down. Super glue, Elmer's glue, like literally anything. So I think that's really about it for the tools. I mean, then there's paints, I guess. But I'm gonna go over paints in another video. But if you're looking for like a full-on video, Goobertown Hobbies has a great one. I love Goobertown. Really chill ASMR sloth-like guy. He likes cats. He's got cats. Really chill videos. I'd check him out as well. But next video, I'll be talking about paints and all the types of paints and stuff. And then if you have any other suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. And I can talk about that then. But for now, I think that covers pretty much all the tools that you will need for getting started with Warhammer. Subscribe, like, share, check out the Amazon shop with all my recommended stuff, and I will see you next time. Okay? Okay. See you. I gotta go turn it off. Hold on.